My roommate stole my ID to cheat on his final exam, and I nearly got expelled for it. So when he begged me to help him get a job after college, I did, and made sure he showed up to an interview that didn't exist. I'm Sean, 24, male, and I still flinch every time I hear my full name out loud. I know that sounds dramatic, but when your entire academic record, your job offers, and your future hang on one stupid selfish decision that wasn't even yours, the sound of your name in someone else's mouth starts to feel like a loaded gun. It started my senior year at Ohio State. I was a biology major, not because I loved it, but because it was safe, predictable. My dad's a nurse, my older sister's in med school. I was the quiet one, the good kid, the one who followed the rules even when nobody was looking. I didn't drink until I turned 21. I paid rent on time. I wore my lanyard like a freshman even in my third year because I didn't want to lose my student ID, and that ID, yeah, that's where this whole mess started. My roommate was Josh, 23, male. He was one of those entrepreneurial types who thought he was smarter than the system, but still borrowed my phone charger every other day. He switched majors 3 times and still had the balls to say I was playing it safe. We met sophomore year through a random roommate assignment, and I tolerated him because, I don't know, I thought that's just how college was. You grit your teeth, share a fridge, and count down the days till graduation. Josh wasn't evil, at least not at first, just chaotic, loud, the kind of guy who laughed too hard at his own jokes and treated every rule like a dare. He was failing stats that semester, big time. Meanwhile, I was applying to internships at research labs and medical schools, trying not to flinch every time someone mentioned post-grad plans. Then one day, I came back from class and my ID was missing. I checked my wallet, my hoodie, my desk drawer. I tore the place apart. Josh watched me with this weird, tight smile, like he already knew what I'd find, which was nothing. 2 days later, I got a summons from the university. Academic misconduct. They said I had been caught in the statistics final, except I wasn't even in the damn building. My professor swore up and down he saw me turn in a test. Same name, same ID, same student number. It didn't take long to figure out what happened. Josh had swiped my student ID, shaved his face, he normally had a patchy beard, thrown on a hoodie, and taken the exam as me. I found the ID tucked into his sock drawer like some sick little trophy. When I confronted him, I was shaking so hard I couldn't even hold my phone steady to record it. He just stared at me and said, "Bro, I was desperate. You wouldn't understand." I got suspended pending a full investigation. They froze my graduation, rescinded my research internship. My parents flew in and sat in the hearing room, eyes hollowed out, watching their good kid try to prove he wasn't a liar or a cheat. Josh didn't even show up, and that was just the beginning. The fallout hit fast and hard. They put a disciplinary hold on my record, which meant no transcripts, no diploma, no job references, nothing. I was in academic limbo. My inbox, which used to have emails from research supervisors and fellowship opportunities, now just had one line over and over: pending resolution of misconduct claim. My parents, God, they didn't even yell. That was somehow worse. My dad kept clearing his throat like he wanted to say something, but couldn't figure out what. My mom kept glancing at me like I was someone else's son. I tried to show them the ID I found in Josh's drawer, but the damage was already baked into their silence. And Josh? That bastard stayed gone for a full week. His bed stayed empty, his side of the room untouched, like a ghost had moved in. When he finally showed up, he had the audacity to act normal. He tossed his backpack onto the futon, cracked open a Mountain Dew, and asked if I'd seen his earbuds. I didn't say anything. I just looked at him, heart pounding so hard I could barely see straight. "You really gonna make this a thing?" he said, like I was the one who'd tanked his future. He tried to talk his way out of it, said it was a harmless mistake, said he panicked, said he meant to come clean, but it spiraled. Then he pulled the most gutless, spineless move I've ever seen. He cried, actual tears, full-body sobs, like he was the victim. Said his parents would cut him off if he failed again. Said he was going to lose everything, that he looked up to me and that it wasn't supposed to ruin my life. And for a stupid second, I hesitated. That guilt reflex kicked in, the one people like Josh count on. Because I do try to be a decent person. I've never been the guy who screams or fights or throws punches, but something inside me cracked. I told him I'd recorded everything. His confession, his crying, even the part where he said he used my ID. Just one time, I told him I was turning it all in to the disciplinary board. His whole face changed, just like that. The tears stopped, his jaw clenched, and then he screamed, loud, violent, threw his energy drink at the wall and punched our microwave so hard it dented. Told me I was a backstabbing little bitch, and that I'd ruined his life, like I'd framed him. I had to sleep with the door locked after that. He started getting weird, following me around campus, showing up outside my study sessions, leaving post-it notes on my side of the room that just said, traitor. Campus security got involved. They moved him out. I filed for a restraining order. But the university, they still hadn't cleared my name, even after he confessed, even after I gave them the recording. They said it was under review. So I spent my final semester in academic purgatory, eating frozen burritos in a dark room, watching my future drift further and further away. And then, 3 weeks before graduation, Josh emailed me. Subject line, "Can you help me out?" I stared at the email for 10 straight minutes before I even opened it. The subject line, "Can you help me out?" felt like a cosmic joke, like he had no concept of what he'd done. Like everything he detonated in my life was just a weird little hiccup that we could move past if I was just chill enough about it. The body of the message wasn't long. Just this. "Hey man, I know things got rough between us, but I've been talking to career services and they said it'd help if I had a referral from a peer for this consulting firm I'm trying to get into. You're good with words and stuff, and I figured you wouldn't want to hold a grudge. Can you write me something? Just short. I'll owe you." I don't know what snapped harder in me, my restraint or my hope in humanity. This man almost got me expelled. He cost me my research internship, destroyed my academic reputation, had me living under threat of suspension, and then had the balls to ask me to vouch for him? Like none of it mattered? Like he was the one who needed grace? And the part that killed me? He knew I'd consider it. Because that's who I was. The guy who didn't make waves. The guy who played it safe. The guy who avoided confrontation, even when it chewed into his skin. That night, I didn't sleep. I just sat in the dark and let it all flood in. The shame, the fury, the heartbreak of watching my parents treat me like maybe I had done something wrong. The quiet way my advisor stopped returning my emails. The way my friends avoided bringing it up like the silence would make it go away. And through it all, Josh was just fine. Untouched. Planning job interviews, probably telling people we were cool now. That's when the idea started to form. Quietly. A whisper at first, then a roar. I was done playing the nice guy. Done trying to take the high road while people like him climbed up on my shoulders and pissed down my back. So I replied to the email. "Sure, I've got just the thing." He responded almost immediately with a thumbs up emoji and some cocky little "knew you'd come through, bro" message, and I started writing. Not the recommendation. Not yet. Something better. I pulled up LinkedIn, made a fake recruiter profile, spent a full night building it, right down to a fake boutique consulting firm, complete with a generic but professional website. Thanks, Squarespace free trial. The company? Graybridge Advisory. Sleek, vague, fancy enough to seem real but niche enough not to raise red flags. I filled the site with recycled business jargon, empowering operational transformation, strategic clarity for scalable outcomes, work smarter, not harder. Exactly the kind of word salad that made Josh feel seen. Then I created a Gmail for the recruiter, linked it to the fake profile, and reached out to him with a job opportunity. Said we saw his resume. Said his student leadership and peer testimonials made him a standout candidate. He fell for it in 10 minutes. Replied with a paragraph of self-congratulation and a humble brag about how people have always told me I have CEO energy. I set the interview date, Friday, 10 a.m. Business formal, downtown address. Only problem was, the address didn't exist, and I made damn sure he'd find that out the hard way. The morning of the interview, I woke up early. Not because I needed to, but because I wanted to savor it. I brewed coffee like I was prepping for a holiday, sat on my tiny balcony and pictured Josh ironing his one good suit. I imagined him practicing his fake charm in the mirror, adjusting his tie, maybe Googling top consulting interview questions, like he was walking into Bain or McKinsey. This was a guy who used to brag about finessing professors and networking upward. Now he was about to walk into a ghost town because he trusted someone with a Gmail account and a buzzword-riddled website. I waited until 10:23 a.m. to check my phone. No new messages. Then at 10:47, I got one. "Hey, this is Josh. I'm at 714 Parkview and there's nothing here. It's an abandoned Rite Aid. Are you guys running late?" I actually laughed. Out loud. Startled my neighbor's cat. I didn't respond right away. Let him stew in it a bit. Made breakfast. Cleaned the apartment. Did my laundry like it was a perfectly normal day. It felt purifying, like I was bleaching the last 2 years of my life. Then, around noon, I messaged back from the recruiter account. "Hi Josh, we're not late. We're just not real. Consider this interview a mirror. What you see in it is exactly who you are. Good luck out there." He didn't reply, but I knew that wasn't the end of it. Around 4 p.m., I got a knock on my dorm door. Hard, aggressive, the kind that says someone's not asking, they're demanding. I opened it, and there he was. Josh, sweating, face red, eyes wild. "You think that was funny?" he spat, pushing past me into the room. "You think this was some joke?" He started pacing, waving his phone around, muttering about how I humiliated him, How this could have been a real opportunity. How he'd called an Uber and paid for parking downtown for nothing. "You're insane," I said, backing toward the desk. But he kept going. "You ruined my future," he snarled. "And now you're out here catfishing me like it's funny?" "I didn't ruin your future," I said, my voice shaking. "You used my ID. You tried to steal mine." That's when he lost it. He knocked over my chair, grabbed my desk lamp and slammed it against the wall. Shards of plastic exploded across the floor. I backed away, heart hammering so loud it drowned out the rest of what he was saying. Luckily, my RA lives 3 doors down. He heard the crash and came sprinting in. Josh tried to argue, said I'd provoked him, said I'd lured him there, said I was harassing him with weird fake companies. Campus police showed up, took statements. I handed them everything. The emails, the fake site, the recordings from months ago, everything. Josh got escorted off campus that night. They slapped him with a no-contact order and a pending disciplinary hearing of his own. I finally exhaled, and 2 days later, I got the email I thought would never come. After further investigation and consideration of new evidence, the Academic Integrity Committee has voted unanimously to clear your record. I was free, sort of. Update number 1. So here's the thing. I thought it was over. I thought I'd had my cathartic moment. Rode off into the sunset with a cleared name, a new internship, and some internet strangers cheering me on. I was so wrong. Because Josh doesn't go down quietly. The day after I posted this, I started getting weird texts from unknown numbers. Stuff like, "Hope your new job knows what kind of person you really are. You think this is funny? Karma's got a long memory. Ever heard of defamation, Sean?" Then came the LinkedIn messages. Some random profile, no photo, barely any connections, started DMing my new boss. I only know because my boss forwarded it to me with a one-line email that just said, "Your stalker's persistent." The message was long and rambling, claimed I had a history of manipulating peers, accused me of online harassment, and tried to make it sound like I'd orchestrated some revenge scheme because I was mentally unstable. It even linked to a now-deleted Reddit post from a throwaway account, claiming to be a concerned classmate, warning employers about vindictive students. But here's the best part. The grammar was garbage, like barely coherent, and it referenced stuff that hadn't happened or had happened only between Josh and me. Stuff I never told anyone, stuff no classmate could have known. I didn't need a forensic analyst to connect the dots. Josh was trying to tank my job. He must have thought if he couldn't get me expelled, he'd make me radioactive in the job market. Classic narcissist move. If I won't help him rise, then I don't deserve to rise either. Only this time, it backfired. My boss used to be a public defender. She smelled bullshit from a mile away, told me she'd seen more manipulative guys than she could count and that I had nothing to worry about. "We vet people thoroughly, Sean," she said. "You're good." But the message shook me. Not because I thought it would work, but because it reminded me. Josh doesn't just lose, he escalates. And then came the box. Yeah, an actual cardboard box, left at the front desk of my building with no return label. Inside, a single smashed-up desk lamp, mine, the one he broke, and a handwritten note, barely legible. "Let's see how you like things falling apart now." The front desk clerk filed a report. Campus police followed up. They said it couldn't be proven it was him. No cameras at the entrance, no fingerprints they could use. But we both knew. He wasn't done. It took me a few days to stop shaking after the box. The lamp, my busted old desk lamp, wasn't even valuable. That's what made it worse. He kept it, held onto it, carted it somewhere off campus, and then hand-delivered it back like a cursed relic. It was a message, a warning, and it landed. I started double-checking the locks, switched my class schedule, had a buddy walk me to the lab at night. My boss offered to let me work remote full-time until the semester ended. I took her up on it, but it gnawed at me. The injustice of it, that he got to spiral and scream and stalk, and somehow I was the one altering my life to feel safe. I kept thinking, what would Josh do if the roles were reversed? He'd make it loud. He'd make it humiliating. And then I remembered something. Back in sophomore year, when we were still on vaguely friendly terms, Josh used to brag about this campus social network he ran, a private Discord server where he hosted career hacks, resume swaps, sometimes even test banks. He was always weirdly proud of it, said it had like 300 people, all chill, called it the Grindhouse. I never joined, thought it sounded like a bro fest of half-baked startup guys LARPing as CEOs. But he mentioned once that it was tied to his old Gmail, the one he'd used to email professors before switching to his university account. And wouldn't you know it, Josh, in his infinite tech genius, had reused the same password for years. I know because he made it his Wi-Fi password too. No Rules 21. So I tried it, one guess, boom, access, and there it was. A cesspool of academic dishonesty, screenshots of exams, answer keys, photos of completed assignments. Some even still had the watermark of our professor's course portals on them. And guess who posted the most? Josh, under the username GrindKing. But that wasn't the golden egg. Number? That was the pinned message from 6 months ago, where he offered to impersonate another student in exchange for $100 via Venmo. ID swap service, he called it, for when the stakes are high. I screenshotted everything, archived the channel, backed it up on multiple drives, and then I emailed it to the university's Office of Academic Integrity, to every department chair whose classes he'd cheated in, and to his parents. Yeah, I found their contacts on his emergency contact form during our RA check-in last year. His mom was the listed email. His dad's a dentist. I wrote a very polite message. Since Josh was so concerned about futures, I thought yours might like to know what he's been up to. No swearing, no dramatics, just receipts. And one final line. If he wants to break things, let's see how he handles watching something he built collapse. I didn't expect the explosion to happen so fast. Within 24 hours, the Discord server was nuked. Gone. Deleted. Like it had never existed. But I had the files. I had the usernames, the timestamps, the chat logs, and more importantly, I had the reactions. The first came from the university, an email marked URGENT from the Director of Academic Integrity. Thank you for your detailed submission. We have opened an immediate investigation into all involved parties. Please be advised, this matter is being treated as a Level 1 violation. Translation? Josh wasn't just facing expulsion now. He might lose every credit tied to the classes he'd cheated in. That means years, thousands of dollars, a transcript that reads like a career obituary. But the second wave hit harder. It came from his parents. I don't know what I expected. Maybe silence, or some milquetoast reply. But what I got was a phone call. His mom. She left a voicemail, and I'll never forget the way her voice cracked halfway through. Sean, I'm not asking you to undo anything. I just want to know why he did this to you. You were his roommate. I thought you were friends. I didn't respond. What could I even say? By the end of the week, word had spread. The school's academic office sent out notices to every student mentioned in the Discord. At least 4 of them were suspended on the spot. One of them? The guy who used to sell old exam keys outside the business building for cash or coffee. Josh, meanwhile, tried to get ahead of it. He posted on his socials some long, bullshit essay about mental health, pressure, the toxicity of hustle culture. Tried to spin it like he was a victim of the system. Said he took accountability and hoped the university would show compassion. He even posted a goddamn photo of himself on a bench, looking off into the distance like a war veteran. I should have let it go. Really, I should have. But something in me snapped when I saw the caption. Everyone makes mistakes. Some people just want to destroy you for them. Nah, not today. So I responded. One comment. Public. You didn't make a mistake. You committed fraud, stalked me, smashed my property, and tried to ruin my career. Let's not rewrite history. It got over 300 likes in an hour. People started digging, asking questions. A girl from our bio class commented, "Wait, is this about the ID thing?" Then others piled in. Screenshots, rumors, stories, people sharing how he pressured them into giving up homework, or how he manipulated his way into study groups and never did the work. And just like that, the tide turned. He deleted the post, then his account, then everything. By Monday morning, his hearing was held without him. He didn't show up. A friend told me he'd already cleaned out his dorm and gone back to his parents' house in Cincinnati. Expelled. Effective immediately. The last thing I heard was that he tried applying to another school out west. But guess what? Academic misconduct follows you, especially when someone's already sent them a nice, clean digital packet of your greatest hits. Update number 2. This is going to sound weird, but the silence afterward was the loudest part. After Josh disappeared, socials wiped, email bounced, number disconnected, I kept expecting something. A message, a threat, a last-ditch cry for sympathy, but nothing came. It was like he vanished. And maybe that should have been the end. Maybe I should have let the credits roll, walked the stage, closed that chapter, but I couldn't. Because there was still one last thread I hadn't tugged. One final loose end that itched every time I thought about him. See, Josh had this podcast. He called it Future-Minded, Real Original. Just 10 episodes of him pretending to be some self-made grindset savant while sipping La Croix into a Blue Yeti mic. But one episode stuck with me. Episode 3, Impress to Progress. In it, he brags on tape about how he aced a final he never should have passed, and how sometimes you just have to become the guy who gets it done, even if it's not your name on the paper. He thought it was clever, motivational. He even joked, "If anyone asks, this is fiction, right?" I downloaded that clip, edited the audio, spliced in a little context. You know, his name, the dates, the ID incident, the Discord screenshots. I didn't post it on Reddit, or Twitter, or TikTok. I emailed it to every employer who'd listed him on LinkedIn as under review, to every graduate program he was still listed as applying to the consulting firm he tried to get me to write a recommendation for. Subject line, in case character matters to you. Petty? Sure. But you know what? He made a sport out of using my name. I just made sure it would cost him every time it showed up on a background check. A few people messaged me later, anonymous burner accounts, saying I'd gone too far. That revenge makes you no better than the person who wronged you. But I'm not trying to be better than Josh. I'm just trying to be free of him. And the truth is, I'm getting there. I graduated last week. Walked across the stage with my real name on the diploma. Real GPA, real work. When they called my name, I didn't flinch this time. I stood tall, looked out at the crowd, smiled. Somewhere out there, maybe Josh saw the photo my department posted on Instagram. Me in the cap and gown, shaking hands with the dean, and maybe, just maybe, he realized the one thing he could never steal from me. Not my name, not my future, not this. The last time I saw Josh in person was at the student center, 2 weeks before he disappeared for good. I hadn't planned it. I was just there grabbing a sandwich between classes, trying to live like a normal person again. The ID thing was mostly behind me, my record cleared, internship back on track. Life was trying to move forward. And then, boom, there he was. He looked worse than I remembered. Hair longer, clothes sloppier, like he hadn't been sleeping much. He didn't see me at first. He was standing by the vending machines, staring at the options like they owed him something. And I swear, this is the part that haunts me. When he finally turned and locked eyes with me, he didn't look angry. He looked relieved, like he'd been waiting for this. He walked over slowly, hands in his hoodie pockets, and said, "So, you won." I didn't say anything. My throat dried up instantly, like my body knew it didn't want to breathe the same air as him. He looked down at his feet, chuckled. "You really did it. Burned it all down. The school, the job offers, my parents, everything. And you made me watch." He wasn't wrong, but I wasn't sorry. Then he looked up, and for the first time ever, Josh wasn't cocky or smug or angry. He looked hollow, like whatever armor he used to wear, ego, charm, noise, had finally cracked. "Can I tell you something?" he asked. I nodded, just barely. He leaned in, real quiet, and said, "I never wanted to be you. I just wanted to not be me." And then he walked away. No threats, no screaming, just that line, like a confession dropped in the middle of a battlefield after the smoke had cleared. I didn't eat lunch that day. My sandwich stayed in its wrapper, untouched on the bench while I sat there trying to make sense of what he meant. Later, I realized maybe he thought stealing my identity would let him borrow my life. Just for a second. Just long enough to pass that class, get the job, prove he was worth something. But people like Josh don't just steal names. They steal peace, trust, time, and you don't get those back. Graduation was surreal. They said my name, my full, untainted name. And for the first time in over a year, I didn't brace for impact. No whispered rumors, no side glances, no admin waiting in the wings to pull me off stage. Just applause. Just me. I walked across that stage in a cap I didn't decorate and shoes that were falling apart at the soles because every damn step to get there had been earned. Not given, not borrowed, earned. And yet, something still sat heavy in my chest. Like finishing the race didn't erase the blisters. Like winning didn't undo what it took to survive. A week after graduation, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten. No return address. Just my name, my real name, scrawled across the front. Inside was a single line. "You never had to destroy me to win, but you did it anyway." No signature, no threats, just guilt. A last-ditch attempt to make me the villain in the story he wrote. I almost threw it out. Almost. Instead, I slid it into a plastic sleeve and tucked it behind my diploma. Because that letter, that's my reminder. That forgiveness is a choice, and sometimes so is not giving it. Josh wanted redemption without remorse. A clean slate after painting my life with dirt. He wanted me to carry the weight of his consequences because he couldn't face them alone, and maybe I could have let go. But then I remembered that day I sat in front of the review board, my future dangling by a thread, my hands sweating through my jeans while my parents sat beside me in silence. I remembered checking job portals and watching them close like doors in a storm. I remembered the text from my sister that said, "Did you really cheat?" With no context, no trust. And I remembered how it felt when no one, not one damn person, believed me, except me. So no, Josh, I didn't destroy you to win. I just stopped letting you climb me to survive. A few months later, I started my first real job. Real office, real badge, real paycheck. First day, my supervisor gave me a desk, a monitor, and a drawer key. Told me to make it my own. So I unpacked 3 things: a photo of my dog, a sticky note that says, "Remember who you are," and that letter. The one from the guy who wore my name like a mask and called it ambition. I keep it not as a trophy but as armor, because life's full of people like Josh. And next time someone tries to take what I've built, I won't wait for permission to fight back. I'll remember the sting of silence, the ache of injustice, and the satisfaction of reclaiming every inch of my name. And that's it. That's the story of how I lost everything, nearly got expelled, and still walked away with my future intact and a little vengeance in my back pocket. Thanks for listening, Reddit. And to anyone who's ever had their identity hijacked, literally or emotionally, just know you're not crazy and you're not alone. Sometimes the best revenge is simply being undeniable.